Coming up on Network Africa. Egypt security forces killed 16 militants in 2 raids in the city of El Harish in the Sinai Peninsula. Lawyer for the son of Mozambique's former president, Armando Guebuza, says the corruption-related charges against him are politically motivated. Citizens of Senegal call for change as the country heads to the polls on Sunday. Hello and a warm welcome to the program. I'm Teniola Shoboele. We begin in Egypt, where security forces have killed 16 militants in 2 raids in the city of El Harish in the Sinai Peninsula. Authorities say the jihadists were planning a series of attacks against vital installations and key figures in the area. Police seized weapons, ammunition and explosive belts in the second hideout. Meanwhile, authorities have started investigating the site of a blast after 2 policemen were killed when an explosive device carried by a militant was set off in the heart of the Egyptian capital. Reports say security forces were pursuing the man in the search for the perpetrator of an attempted attack against a police patrol in the western Cairo on Friday. At least 3 civilians were also wounded, including a Thai student who suffered light injuries. The area around Al-Hazar Mosque is home to crowded markets and is a popular tourist destination. Lawyer for the sons of Mozambique's former president, Armando Guebuza, says the corruption charges against him are politically motivated. Lawyer Alexandre Chivale said in Dambi Guebuza believed that his arrest was an attempt by the ruling Frelimo party to sacrifice the Guebuza family ahead of elections later this year. Ndambi, the oldest of the former president's 4 children, was arrested in the capital over a $2 billion government debt scandal. He has been remanded in custody after appearing in court. South Africa's International Relations and Cooperation Minister, Lindiwe Sisulu, says the postponement of elections to sort out issues is something that can happen to any country, not just Nigeria. She was speaking at a media briefing after the quarterly meeting with foreign diplomats in the country on what has been described as a State of the Nation address breakfast. She also gave details of other South African government positions on global issues. Our correspondent, Natasha Piri, reports.
Foreign policy, environment and elections taking place in various African countries took center stage at the South African State of the Nation Address breakfast hosted by the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Lindiwe Sisulu. The minister took the opportunity to brief the diplomatic corps on these developments. Sisulu also weighed in on the postponement of the Nigerian elections, saying that there is nothing unusual about postponing elections.
It happens, it has happened in Nigeria before. It almost happened to us in 1993. It's one of those things that when we are planning elections, we take into account. The worst case scenario, things don't go right, we postpone the election instead. It helps any country avoid a total disaster during an election. So there was nothing untoward about that. The people of Nigeria have accepted it.
Whilst voting has been delayed in Nigeria, the 8th of May has been set as the day when South Africans will be heading to the polls and vote. 299 parties will be registered on the voters' roll this year. Acting Director General Nkolisi Nkosi speaks on the preparations put in place for South Africans who will be voting outside of the country.
Our missions are very much prepared for the elections. It won't be the first time that our missions have the responsibility to facilitate the elections by South African expatriates who are based in various parts of the world.
Following South Africa's withdrawal from the International Criminal Court in October 2016, Minister Sisulu says the country is reviewing the decision and will go back to the drawing board on this matter.
We believed then that it was something we would want to return to and look at and see if, in fact, it is the right decision to continue with. Perhaps at the time that it was taken, it might have been the right decision, but is it something we would like to continue with?
A South African delegation of ministers will be heading to Zimbabwe on the 12th of March for a bi-national visit. The issues that will be addressed include the lifting of sanctions and a general assessment of the country. From Pretoria, South Africa, Natasha Puri, Channel Television News.
Senegal is preparing for its election on Sunday, with President Macky Sall facing off against 4 other candidates. Many citizens are hoping for change as election nears. A 48-year-old hairdresser in Dakar says he's tired of Africans being left behind and will vote for a president who can push Senegal into the 21st century.
Yaya Niass runs a barbershop along a roadside market located on the outskirts of Senegal's capital, Dakar. Niass grew up in France, where he lived with his father until 1985. He then returned home to stay with his mother in a village outside Dakar. Niass later moved to the capital to set up his business, hoping to find opportunities in Dakar, where almost half of the country's 15.4 million people live. Having lived in France, Niass says he has seen firsthand how important it is to have a social safety net in the form of affordable healthcare, social housing and free education.
I lived there. I lived in France. I am among people who have traveled abroad and then come back to the country, try to do something, to make a living. I'll give you an example. In France, if one day you lost your job and you were unemployed, each end of month you received unemployment benefit. That doesn't exist in Africa. Healthcare and all that does not exist in Africa.
L'assurance maladie et tout ça, ça n'existe pas en Afrique.
World Bank figures show that Senegal's growth is healthy at around 7%, but most labor remains informal, which means low remuneration, underemployment, and limited social protection for many Senegalese. 2011 figures show that almost half of the population was considered poor, and indicators are that inequality remains unchanged despite growth, mainly in the agricultural sector.
There are too many things to do. We are late in terms of development compared to other continents, and I think it shouldn't be that way. So what I expect from the next president, from the next African president, is that they work to really change things, be in power for the people, help the people, because Africans are really tired. We just get by. We fight. Everyone tries to fight on their own. But I think countries really have the power to change things.
Senegal, a major exporter of fish and peanuts, has had 3 largely peaceful transitions of power since independence from France in 1960.